When Madison Carter moved to the small town of Pine Hill, all she wanted was a fresh start. At 27, after a failed engagement and a burnt-out career in advertising, she needed something quieter, simpler. The kind of place where time slowed down and people still said hello on the street. Pine Hill was just that. Nestled between old forests and rolling hills, it seemed to breathe peace. Madison found a cozy little cottage to rent on the outskirts of town, near an abandoned railway line that hadn't seen a train in over 3 decades. Locals warned her the place had stories, strange ones, but she didn't care. It was quiet. It was beautiful. And most of all, it was far from her past. Her first few weeks were uneventful. She'd walk her dog, Charlie, through the woods, visit the tiny bookstore on Main Street, and chat with Mrs. Lambert, the elderly woman who ran the local post office and seemed to know everything about everyone. Madison loved it. But one evening, curiosity got the better of her. She'd heard townsfolk talk in hushed tones about the Turner house. It stood alone at the end of a crumbling road, not far from her cottage, hidden by thick trees. Everyone said it was haunted, that strange lights flickered in its windows at night, even though no one lived there. Madison didn't believe in ghosts. She thought maybe it was kids playing tricks or someone using the old house for something they shouldn't. Still, a part of her wanted to see it for herself. It was a gray, misty afternoon when she finally decided to visit. Charlie trotted ahead of her as she followed the narrow trail through the woods. The trees creaked with the wind, and the air smelled like damp leaves and moss. When she reached the clearing, the Turner house stood just as the rumors said, weathered and sagging, with peeling paint and windows like dark eyes. The front door hung crookedly on one hinge. It was the kind of place that looked like it had held secrets for too long. Madison hesitated. Part of her wanted to turn back, but her feet kept moving. She stepped onto the porch. The boards groaned under her weight. She pushed open the door, and it creaked loudly, protesting after years of silence. Inside, the house was still, the air thick with dust and time. Furniture draped in sheets filled the room, and faded wallpaper peeled in long strips from the walls. She wandered from room to room, Charlie at her heels, her heart pounding a little faster than she expected. In the back hallway, she found a staircase leading to the second floor. Halfway up, she noticed a photograph on the wall, black and white, with a family standing in front of the house. A man, a woman, and a little girl, all smiling stiffly. The year printed at the bottom. 1947. She reached the top of the stairs, and something changed. The air felt colder, heavier. One door at the end of the hall was closed. Every other door in the house had been wide open. Curiosity swelled in her chest. She reached out and turned the knob slowly. The door creaked open, revealing a small bedroom. There wasn't much inside, a wooden bed frame, an old dresser, and a rocking chair by the window. But what caught her eye was the notebook on the floor. Its pages were yellowed, the cover worn. She picked it up and flipped through it. It belonged to the little girl from the photo. Her name was Emily Turner. The diary started like any other child's journal. Talks of school, her dog Max, and summer picnics. But as Madison read on, the entries became strange. Emily mentioned hearing whispers at night, seeing a man in the woods who wasn't her father, and feeling watched even when she was alone. Madison felt a chill creep down her spine. She closed the notebook and placed it back where she found it. As she turned to leave, she heard a soft creak behind her. The rocking chair was moving, just slightly. She froze. Charlie barked once and ran out the door. Madison didn't wait. She rushed down the stairs and didn't stop running until she was out of the woods and back at her cottage. That night, she couldn't sleep. The image of the notebook, the photograph, and the moving chair played on a loop in her mind. She told herself it was the wind, the old house settling, but deep down, she knew something was off. The next day, she returned to town and visited the Pine Hill Historical Society. An older man named James Wilkins greeted her. When she asked about the Turner house, his expression turned serious. Emily Turner disappeared in 1951, he said. Never found. Her parents passed away a few years later. The house's been empty since. Folks say it's cursed. Madison asked about the man in the woods Emily had written about. James nodded slowly. There was talk of a drifter back then. He'd hang around the outskirts of town, gave people the creeps. No one could ever prove anything. After Emily vanished, he was never seen again. Madison felt the weight of the story settle on her shoulders. She wasn't sure why, but she felt connected to Emily, like she had unfinished business. Over the next few weeks, she visited the house again, this time during the day. She read more of Emily's diary, carefully piecing together her final weeks. The entries hinted at fear, at someone trying to lure her away. One page was torn out, the last before the diary ended. Madison became obsessed with finding it. She started cleaning the house, restoring bits of it as best she could. She even brought candles and flowers, as if trying to give it life again. One evening, while sweeping under the bed in Emily's room, Madison found something taped to the bottom of the frame. It was the missing diary page. Her hands shook as she unfolded it. The final words read, "He said he'd take me to see the stars. But I'm scared. If I don't come back, tell Mommy and Daddy I love them." Madison sat there in silence, tears in her eyes. That night, she lit a candle and placed it by the window. Just as she did, a soft knock came from the front door. Her heart skipped. She stepped downstairs slowly, opened the door, and no one was there. But at the edge of the woods, she saw something move. A small figure, standing still. She stepped outside, and the figure raised its hand and waved. It was a girl. Madison blinked, and just like that, she was gone. She stood there a long time, unsure of what she'd seen. But inside, she felt peace. Like Emily had finally been heard. From that night on, the house felt different. Warmer. As if someone had finally said goodbye. Madison decided to stay in Pine Hill. She wrote Emily's story, shared it with the town, and eventually, the Turner house was restored into a small museum. Children from the local school came to visit, and Madison would tell them about the brave little girl who never got to grow up but would never be forgotten. Years later, when Madison sat on her porch and watched the sun dip behind the trees, she often thought about that first day. What started as curiosity, a simple walk in the woods, had become the most unforgettable chapter of her life. Not because of fear, or ghosts, or mystery, but because in helping a lost voice be heard, she had found her own.